Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. All things Middle Earth here with a first look video looking at the brand new Nazgul commander Qurwan that we have in the Rise to War. So stay tuned, we're going to break down the kit, the different skills, stats, the R10 weapon, all that kind of good stuff. So stay tuned, that's coming up in just 1 second. Okay, just as we just did in our other video for Elro here, we're just going to do a quick overview of this character. So if you're curious about what skills they have, what is required to recruit them, all that kind of stuff, you came to the right place. So starting out, we have the Desert Sand. Now, as I mentioned in the Elro here video, which is going to be linked in the top right if you're interested in that, if you didn't come from watching that one, it's not great to see new items being added because that just means you have to spend to unlock these characters. There's no chance you're going to already have had things saved up, which in reality you probably shouldn't be holding on to stuff anyway, but it does mean you have to spend. So it's not the best thing, but I get it. They need to make money. So hopefully my hope over time is that we get more and more characters, that there's at least a couple more on each item. So you have some options as far as what commanders you want to go for, because if these commanders end up not being great and you have one specific item, at least for the last batch that was released, they came in batches of 2. So you don't have to, if you don't want to get Zegred, you can go for a Dune maybe. But this one, if you go for this, you're going to get this commander. So again, that's a Desert Sand. Long explanation that he wants sand to be recruited. And then looking at the stats, he has the support ability starting out, which is going to give him a plus 25 focus and 5 skill points. So he's going to get that nice 5 skill points at level 20. That's a pretty nice one there. And his stats are similar to what we just looked at with Elro here, except a little bit higher, if I remember correctly, just by a few points starting out. So he has 89 might, 88 focus, and 45 speed. So it looks like he has a little bit higher starting might and focus and lower starting speed. Now, I don't know these starting values, the per level values, so we'll see how these scale up. But again, it's might. It's as you see with their kits, it seems like they're kind of focused around a variety of different unit types, and so just having a good amount of focus and might make sense so that your units do damage and they take less damage, and speed is not as relevant to those things specifically happening. So those are the starting stats for him here. And then we see here the commander background. Qurwan was originally a renowned Haradrim war chief whose feats were whispered about in every tavern of Middle Earth. In search for more power, he was seduced by the rings of power and is now under the dominion of the Dark Lord. And as we theorized, the kind of I thought it was more of a dagger, but it looks like it's more of a spear with the curved tip there. That's going to be his respect 10 unique item, the Ebony Dagger, which is going to have might, focus, and speed starting at 8, 12, and 12. So kind of just solid across the board there. And then the effect here is going to be Pouring Rain. This is for all enemy units. They're going to deal 3% less damage and an additional 1% less damage for each allied man, elf, or dwarf unit type. So again, these different commanders we're seeing, these two new ones are really focused around this whole different unit types, dwarf, elf, man. We see that a lot looking at Elro here at his kit and his item as well. So that is the R10, the respect 10 item for Qurwan here, which again, it looks fine. I think just with how expensive these items are, unless you are a Kraken, I just do not think these are going to be worth going for to rush for. There are a few that are better than others that I think might be considered as worth going for more, but some of them just don't seem that good to justify just going nuts on it. But that's just my thoughts there. So that is the Ebony Dagger. And then we have his abilities here. Again, no surprise, he does have the Ring Wraith at R3. All of the Nazguls have that. So that is Ring Wraith here, the R3 with Morgul Poison and Nazgul Street. And then a very interesting thing here, he has the Catastrophe of Elves, Dwarves, and Men over here at the R5. And so it's going to be very similar for each one of these. So we're going to look at all the main ones first, and then I'll look at the adjacent skills here. But for the Elves, it's for enemy Elves. They're going to receive extra damage affected by might, and then Elves cannot recover HP. Same thing here for the Dwarves. Dwarves are going to receive extra damage affected by might, and they cannot recover HP. And then for the men, you get it affected by might, damage received, starting at 1.6. Let me grab my calculator here and see what that would equal out to. Looks like that's going to be about 24% when maxed out, if that does just scale up 15 times. So 24% extra damage, again, affected by the might stat. So it's very focused on just these different unit types, which is kind of like that's how Elro here's kit is meant to run. So they're very good counterparts. I just don't know what their viability in the grand scheme of the game is going to be, because yes, there are different army compositions that use multiple races, and that's all over the place, but it's just really hard to nail down, before you get into a battle with someone, what's going to happen. And you can't just be refreshing your skills and changing things all the time. I think you definitely could, and maybe at a crazy high respect with the imparted wisdom. If you get all of these, he's just going to be really good and shut down healing for all these 3 races. But it gets to that point too where instead of being really, really good against one of these, he's kind of, he does more damage to them, but I don't think it's a ridiculous amount. 24% is not crazy. But you got the anti-healing and you got the extra damage. So then starting with the elves, we'll look at this tree here. We have the nimbleness, which is for allied units. They are going to receive less damage from ranged units. So again, focusing the elves being a little bit more ranged than the other races. And then we have everlasting torture for enemy units. They are going to deal less damage every round, can stack each round. So maxed out, this is going to be 7% less damage every round, stacking every round. So if you go 10 rounds, this is going to get up to, I guess, 63, going on 70% for the final round. So as these go on for him, the enemy's going to get weaker and weaker and weaker. So if you can find a good build that allows him to last long, he may do solid with everlasting torture there. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Then looking at the dwarves here, we have the armor corrosion, which is against allied units. Again, these are all anti-allied units here. Their damage is going to, this is for your allied units, it's going to ignore 5% of target's defense. And then we have the consequences of greed. This is in the first round against enemy units. You have a 14.3% chance to inflict madness, and maxed out, that's going to give you the 100% chance. So again, if you come across armies with several compositions, at least more than one, you're going to have a guaranteed madness on round 1, which could be pretty nice. So starting out with the madness, and then as you go with everlasting torture, them getting weaker and weaker, or at least dealing less and less damage, could be some interesting synergy there. So we'll see how that goes. Then we know Ring Wraith. We know that we get the stun on this as well. So against enemy targets, this is going to be a 100% chance of stun once it's upgraded all the way. And then we're going to get focus damage after the stun effect ends. So you have the round 1 stun. Then you have the first round madness. I do wonder if there would be a option here for how you stat these skills in, because honestly, it would make more sense to get the first round stun, and then if the stun hits first and he can use this second turn where they get hit with the madness, that might be pretty solid. So that'd be something to verify if we can get that to hit the way we want it to. And then again, you have Morgul Poison up here. We know what that is. And then lastly, we have the Catastrophe of Men, which is going to have Intimidation against enemy commanders. This is the first one, not focused on troops. They're going to have Might -4 every round, and there's a 2.1% chance of being stunned. So about almost 15% chance maxed out on the stun chance there. The Might is going to get to about -28 Might. So not bad, but doesn't jump out at me. And then we have Feint, which is going for each 5 instances of damage dealt, all units' next damage is going to be increased by 5%. So maxed out, it'll be for each 5 instances of damage dealt, all units' next damage will be plus 35%. Since it says all instances of damage, I'm assuming that means by any, so any individual attack counts as that. So it does seem like every 5 attacks from anybody, you're going to get a damage boost there. So there are a few interesting things here. I would definitely be curious about just the synergy between Everlasting Torture with the Madness and Stun. If you can get these to go off on separate points, it seems like it'd be redundant if you couldn't. So if you get the first round Stun, lock them down, second round Madness, they're attacking themselves, and then by the time you get to the third round, they're already having at least -14% damage dealt. And then even something like this, as you go, your damage, if you have some high hitting units, are going to be doing some pretty good damage here. So again, once we get both these characters unlocked, this is totally just theorizing and talking through the kit right now. Hopefully we can get some things going. But if we get R5 or not, it's going to be totally up to RNG and how much we are able to spend. So we'll see how things end up playing out and if we can get some use out of these characters and do some actual testing. So again, let me know what you think about Qurwan here, or however you say it. I'm not 100% sure on the pronunciation, but our new Nazgul commander, the Haradrim Nazgul. Let me know what you think about him in the comments below. And if you're watching this a little bit later and already have started using him, let me know what your experience has been thus far. But that's going to do it for this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.